third-party charting tools like I'm doing right here. So when an event occurs, you can just click on it, take a look at the chart, see what's going on, and make a trading decision based on that information. So that's the alert window. Now the top list window, denoted by the T in the upper left-hand corner, is a ranked group of stocks based on the filtered criteria and a sort order that I have in place. So I put all different kinds of filters in place for this window, mandating that I have a certain amount of social activity, mandating that the stock is up a certain amount for the day or down a certain amount for the day. And then it gives me the ability to really dive into the window and color code it in a variety of different ways. I can manipulate the window by double-clicking on any of the column headers and sorting in both ascending and descending mode. Really, the idea is to be able to bring your attention to something that's happening and worthy of your consideration for entering or exiting a position. So the top list window is right here, and this is a real-time window that gets a snapshot update every 30 seconds. So this thing is always going to be updating for you, and everything in here is sortable. For instance, the position in your range. It's a data point that's trade ideas. Other providers don't have that data point, but this column right here is the position in the year range, and it gives me a very clear indication without even pulling up a chart as to where that stock is in relationship to its intra-year high and low. So if I go ahead and sort on this, I can see the stocks that not only are up very strong for the day, but I can see that these 5 stocks right here are on their high for the year. So, you know, if I pull them up in a chart, I'm able to really take a look at that, and I've got my daily chart down here, and I can see that this is in fact making a year high just based on this one column that I have visible here. Every filter that we have can be used as a column or a data point that can be manipulated, so it's incredibly powerful in that regard. And the top list windows have also an extra data point down at the bottom, and while I'm looking at stocks that have unusual social mentions right here, I can see in this group of stocks that have unusual social mentions, 84% of them are up for the day and 15% of them are down for the day. And we really allow you to really drill into any of the metrics that we have here, and you can set this bar here to analyze any of the data points that you have set up as a column. So let me drive down into this window right here, and this is our single stock window. The single stock window allows you to really dive into a particular stock and see what's going on with that stock. Again, not just from generic market data like what's the last price, but some great stuff like what's the relative volume for that stock. You know, how much is that stock trading right now compared to its normal trading volume at this time of day. So this stock right here, YZC, is trading 10 times its normal volume. And you can see that here on this volume bar on the daily chart. This thing really put in an incredible volume bar compared to the other days. And what what I want to show you here towards the end of this presentation, these types of stocks before they're before the end of the day, and they've already put in an incredibly wide range bar. Certainly we can do some great news reporting, but the real value of this is to find these signals and these trade opportunities before they're up 10 and 20% for the day. And that's really what we're great at. I'll move up to the top window here, the social media stream. Super powerful window. It looked pretty innocuous right here the way that it is, but if I right-click in here and open it up, you can see that I've got about 25 different strategies all set up here, listening for a particular event to occur, and when it does, it's going to deliver it to my window. So it's just like this window right here, but it has 20 or 25 of these different strategies all bundled into this single window. So here's a stock that's making a good, strong post-market gainer, and it really gives you the flavor of what's going on. If you look at the strategy name, this is telling you what's happening with that particular stock. And again, it's all very customizable, because if I didn't want to look at, let's say, the post-market gainers or decliners, I could just uncheck them and remove them from this particular stream. Or if I wanted to go into it and say, for a post-market gainer to appear here, I want to make sure that it's up a certain percentage for the day. And you can go ahead and add that criteria to it. So it's a really flexible piece of software. It's like a piece of clay. We're delivering you this piece of clay that's already formed, but if you want to go ahead and change the form, completely up to you. The last window that I haven't talked about is our compare count window, which is our visualization tool. You can go ahead and enter into 2 different strategies into this window, and it's going to give you a real-time fight as to which one of those strategies is winning. Now it's pretty dead right now because it's after hours, but during the market, this is instantaneously letting you know whether the bulls and bears are winning, and it gives you an ability to clear it out and start fresh. And so you can look at it from a certain time, refresh it and look at it just from this point on. And like any of our channels, all you need to do is just select it, and it's going to present that view for you. If you want to go ahead and take any of these channels and modify them yourself, absolutely do that. You can go ahead and change the configuration, and once you do that, just go ahead and save it to your cloud. You can save the entire layout, or if you want to go ahead and take a couple windows, do that. And then once you do, I'll just call this my cloud save or demo. So I've saved that. If I want to share this with my friends or with support, this is what we ingest a lot. We have our clients sending us these cloud links, and then we take them, we open them up, we look at what they've done, make adjustments, and shoot it back to them. But once you've done that, you can then easily retrieve it, and you can retrieve it right from your My Cloud option here, which is going to look for all the windows and layouts and combos that you've saved in here. You can retrieve them, find them. Like if you wanted to find something, you can just type it in here, and it'll find all the windows that relate to that particular search term. So if you want to modify the channels, the net of it is that you can go ahead and take these, modify them, put them on a different monitor if you want, save them to your cloud, and really make them your own. Okay, so I want to go back to that. That was my overview of trade ideas. There is one other element that wasn't visible on this particular screen that I want to give you a little taste of, and that's our backtesting tool. It's called the Odds Maker, and it's a really exciting tool because it backtests unlike any other tool in the market. Backtesting traditionally is taking a single symbol and looking at it over the last 5 to 10 years and seeing the best way to trade that particular stock. But we've done something a little bit different, and we're really taking a look at the overall strategy. And we don't really care what stocks generate inside of a strategy. When we make the strategy, we want to be able to backtest it and see, had this strategy been live in the market, how would I have done? On every single instance of an alert being generated, if I had performed the instructions that I had set initially, let's say, don't trade the first 15 minutes, don't trade the last hour, hold it for 45 minutes, put in a protective stop, something like that, you'll get a real indication. So let me do that for you and give you guys a taste of what the Odds Maker can do for you. This particular strategy is one that's looking for a real strong move down, unusual move down, and I'm going to capitalize on that. I'm going to try to get the price and hold it for a short period of time, 45 minutes. Put a protective stop of 50 cents. So if it really starts to, continue on down, I'm not going to really fight and hold it. I'm just going to let go and move on to the next one. Again, not trading the first 5 minutes, not trading the last hour, and then we'll simulate the buy. Now what it's doing is it's going to our servers and it's, hypothesizing, had I bought every instance of an alert that generated in this strategy, how would I have performed, or how would the strategy have performed over that time period? And we give you a maximum of 65 trading days to go back, so it's a quarter of data to go ahead and analyze a particular strategy. And so this one right here, this one's been performing super strong since November when it was created. So this is about 5 months into it, and it's just profit factor, which is a sum total of all the winning trades over losing trades, which is 4x. That's a super strong profit factor. 63% winners of the 300 and some odd trades that were generated. Definitely a 2-to-1 winner to loser ratio. These are all the kind of metrics that you want to use and you want to have inside of a good successful strategy. And we used our optimization servers to create this, but we have those same optimization tools inside of the Odds Maker that allows you to really drill into the strategy and in all different ways and see how successful that strategy was, not only from price, which we're looking at here. So this is the price of the stock broken down into $5 intervals. So the stocks, I think the minimum price that I had was $10 or $15 on the trade. So price between 15 and 20, I had 94% win ratio. My average winning trade was $306. Total trades were 17. So these are the kind of metrics that we get, not only from price, but for time. So the trading time, let's say I break it into 15-minute intervals. And so the first 15 minutes of the day, this is how I did, all the way to the end of the day. And remember, I didn't trade the last hour, which is why I'm on the West Coast, so we end at 1 o'clock. That's why my last time period was right here at 12. And then the real power of the odds maker is the ability to dive into all of our filters and analyze the hypothetical nature of the different values that exist with the different filters. And let me bring in kind of one that's easy to reference here. Let's just say like change in 120 minutes. And again, this strategy has been optimized, so it's going to be pretty good on all these different filters. But you can get an idea here on this one here when the stock was down, let's say 12%. And there was only one trade here, but it'll give you an idea. When the stock was down 12% to 14%, I didn't have any winning trades here. So that type of market movement wasn't a very good one for this particular movement. Remember, this is a mean reversion looking for a strong down move, but it can't be too far down, otherwise the strategy doesn't maintain its effectiveness. So again, you can go through all the different filters and take a look at that type of analysis. Here's a situation where we're looking at the change from the 200 period on the 5-minute chart, and we're looking at it when that stock is 8% or 6% to 12% below that 200 period. I didn't win very much, 22% here, 0% here. So that's just the kind of information that the odds maker provides for you. So let me do this. I'm going to take a little pause here. I'm going to catch my breath. I'm going to bring Scott back, and we're going to talk about some of the specials that we've got running right now. And then I'm going to get back into showing you how to really kind of roll your sleeves up and reverse engineer a particular move. You know, you see a move on a chart, and you want to try to figure out how to set that up in trade ideas. I'll show you the steps that I go through to do that.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Something that we like to do when we give these presentations is provide the attendees with an offer to start using trade ideas or even change their plan at a discounted rate. We're currently offering a subscription code QA promo 08, all caps if you use that on checkout with the credit card. It brings the starter month from $99 down to $69.30, or our regular monthly recurring subscription from $75 down to $52.50 for the first month. It knocks the Advantage Player starter price down to $165.20, or the lifetime oddsmaker license down to $770. We also are offering a really great combination deal for $899. If you want to flip to the next slide there, Brad, it's yep.
Looks like this slide didn't get updated, Scott.
I thought I updated that to $899. I did. The link is okay. Well, at any rate, the deal changed from $799 to $899 because it was very popular, and we're sorry to do that, but we're offering such a great deal for such a low price that we are now offering it at $899, and it's still an outstanding deal. We will probably be eliminating this deal entirely at some point in the future. So you can go to the bit.ly link, bit.ly 899saver directly. Dan also has a link in the chat to that, and you can get both products and a optimized strategy for only $899. That's, I believe, a 52% savings, so it's still over half off. Let me go ahead and drop a link to that in the chat there for you too.
Thank you, Scott. All right, I'm going to go back to this agenda slide because I want to look at these symbols here, and I want to pull them up in a chart so you can see. And these are all movers today, and this is the type of info someone would be, throwing to me saying, "Hey, Brad, I'd like to find, why when it broke out." So let's just pull some of these stocks in here. MYL. So we look at something like this, and you're like, "Oh, well, this would be a great stock to catch." And when I look at something like this, let me take the pre-market off. Make it a little bit easier to look at. So I look at something like this, and boy, this is a fantastic trade opportunity for anybody here, and you've had multiple opportunities. And you look at this, the volume down at the bottom, and this is a real driver of some of the activity. So we're going to make a mental note of that. And I'm just going to go through these symbols and look at it, and we'll see what we can do to make them. So here's YY. Again, you look at the volume yesterday and you compare it to today, these are the things where we keep statistical baselines on everything. We can find this stuff super quick. And when you have it configured properly, the idea is to get rid of the noise, get rid of the stocks that may be having this up move but don't have the type of vigor behind it. So QIHU, here's another one, CINA. And every day there's stocks like this that are moving, and really the key is to be alerted to them in a timely manner and be confident enough in the signals. TEDU, another fantastic move. So pretty much they're all similar from this regard. So let's go ahead and let's just drill into MYL and let's see if we can find it. So let's pull it back up on the chart. The thing I like about this one right here is it had a kind of a late day volume surge. It had some good solid volume early, definitely compared to normal, but it also really kicked in later in the day, a couple hours after the market opened. So let's see what we can do to find something like this. Let me go ahead and close down some windows so I don't confuse everybody. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a new alert window. And I'm going to start from scratch. So I don't have any filters in here, I don't have any alerts, and I don't have any columns. So I'm going to want to do all of that just so I can get the data. And really the key to doing this is to add the appropriate columns. So when you're running a history, you have the data points in front of you to see what the values of those filters were so that you can then configure the strategy accordingly. So the first thing I want to do then is, after starting from scratch, let's set my signal up. I want to have a couple signals here. The first one that I'm going to do is a new high. So I can see here there are a lot of new highs made during the day. So anytime there's a new high, I'm going to theoretically get an event, an alert, and all the filters associated with that alert. I'm also going to obscurely choose the heartbeat alert. This is a very generic alert, but the beauty of it is it triggers every 5 minutes. So in the event I don't have a new high, like here, I had a big candle move up. I didn't have a new high for a few minutes here, probably 15 minutes. So this heartbeat's going to generate a signal every 5 minutes and let me know what the filter values were during that time. And I could add any number of alerts here. I'm just going to start out pretty basic. Filters, I don't want to use any filters. I want to make sure that it's hit hide unused and make sure there's nothing in here from a filter perspective, because really the filter I'm going to use is I'm going to use the single symbol filter of MYL. So that's the only symbol I'm going to look at here. That's all I really care about. And then the other thing that I need to do is I need to add some columns, and I need to add some important columns that are going to give me the data that I'm looking for. I know that volume is a huge catalyst here, so that's what I'm really going to focus on here, is volume. So I'm going to type in volume. Let's go ahead and select filter. So I just have my volume filters. I'm going to do a couple of things. Let's select the 5-day average volume. I also want to select the 3-month average volume. I'm curious as to the difference between those. Relative volume, which happens to be my favorite filter inside of Trade Ideas, so definitely going to pick that one. Volume today on a percentage basis, I'm going to add that just because I want a lot of different volume metrics here. I'm going to add the 1 minute, the 15-minute, or the 5-minute and the 15-minute volume, so I can see on a percentage basis how are those volume candles compared to the baseline. Let's also bring in not options volume contract, but I want options volume percentage. And then I have a couple custom filters. I'm going to just bring in one custom filter, which is volume 1/5, and that's a great custom filter because it's looking at the current 1 minute volume candle and it's comparing it to the last 5-minute volume candle, but it's doing some math to it. It's dividing it by 5, and it's giving me really a good ratio as to how's this last 1 minute candle compared to the average of the last 5. So I can see some increasing volume with this filter right here. And if you guys want to shoot me an email, brad@trade-ideas.com, if you're interested in it, I can give you the code that I have for this custom filter, and you can add it to your account as well. So we've got these different filters that I want to add as columns. So let's just do that. I'm going to hit Show Column, and I'm going to hit OK. So let's just call this MYL, and let's hit OK. All right, so this is for today. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm also going to take out these icons right here. A little confusing for people that are just starting out, so I'm going to just turn them into text headers, make these columns a little bit bigger. So I actually have windows like this already set up, but I just need to go in and change the symbol name, which really allows me to kind of quickly reverse engineer stuff pretty quick. So now I'm going to go ahead and run a history. I'm going to run a history just on today. So I'll right-click, go history for today. And what it does is it goes back to our server farm and it brings in the last 1,000 events. I'm pretty sure that we're looking at a single symbol. 1,000 events should be more than enough to get us to the beginning of the market day. So if I scroll all the way down, remember I'm on the West Coast, so 6:30 is when we open. So now I need to go to this chart, and I need to kind of figure, well, first of all, before I go to the chart, let's go a few minutes into the market open, say 33, and let's look at some metrics right here. Now, when a stock opens in the morning, oftentimes it's doing a lot more volume than it normally does. That's why I like to go a few minutes into it. But even at 7 minutes into the market open, the stock was doing 7.8 times its normal volume. So that's pretty significant. And that's in consideration that we know stocks do more volume in the morning. So we accommodate and we account for that factor. So this is still pretty significant right here. As we scroll up through the day, now again I'm 15 minutes into the day, still doing 6 times normal volume. Now I could look at the 1 minute volume candle and see that it's doing 400%, 4 times normal on the 1 minute. 3 times normal on the 5 minutes. So those are significant, but again, it's still early in the day, and how do you really know if something's going to continue through? So let's move up. Let's see when this actually happened, because this is the candle. Let me stretch out a bit. This is the candle that I need to know about, right? I need to know that this candle is occurring when it's occurring, and this happened at 11:25. I want to drill into the 1 minute candle because I want to know exactly what we're talking about here. So I'm going to stretch it out a bit. All right, so 11:27 is when this candle occurred. It's important to know that this volume candle down at the bottom also happened at 11:27. So they corresponded. The huge volume candle, the huge price action candle that went up 1, 2, 3, I mean almost $3 in the course of a minute. So that's very significant. And that was at 11:27. So that is 8:27 my time. This is East Coast. I'm on West Coast. So let's go to 8:27. Get around that time period. So right here we had the stock at 63.02 at 8:22. 8:27, it jumped 30 cents, still pretty cheap, 63.32. It's still in this area right here, but we've got some stuff starting to happen with it. And let's take a look at this volume 1 minute. And notice it starts here at 276%. The 5 minute is 129%. And as I scroll up here, and again, it's 8:27 and 40 seconds. I'm not going to go too far. 3 seconds later, here we are. So maybe 4 seconds later. So now I've got some stuff that's super interesting. Now I know that we're doing 3 times our normal relative volume. Huge. That's 300%, 3 times, big number. I also know that at this time of day, I've almost done the complete normal volume that I typically do. Let me go ahead and turn this into a numerical indicator so it's not graphical, and it'll give you a value here. And this value tells you, if it was 100, it would have done the total volume that it normally does through the course of an entire day. Well, here it's only a couple hours into it, and it's already done almost 70% of its normal volume. Volume in 1 minute was over 1,000%. Volume in 5 minutes over 300%. And 15 minutes, 176%. Those are the metrics right there that are going to give you this type of move, having these types of volume metrics. So we're going to add those as filters. And then as I look to my custom filter here, where I'm looking at the 1 minute volume over the 5 minute, I can see here that a factor of 3 is huge. So now we have this increasing type of volume. So those metrics together are going to give me what I need to really find that type of move. So what I would do next is I would then duplicate this window, go into configure, and in this case I don't care about the heartbeat. That was just for my own detective work. I'm going to keep the new high as my trigger. That's going to give me that signal that I'm looking for, but I'm going to add these different filters to it. So let's add 1,000 to it. Let's add 300 here to the 5 minute, and let's add 150 to the 15 minute. So we're ensuring that all these volume metrics are in place before a new high event can occur. And then I can do some other things, like I can make my price point, let's say 3, and I could say average daily volume needs to be at least 200,000. I do this to get rid of some of the noise. And let's go ahead and let's run with it and see what we can do here. I could also make this one my custom filter too. That way I show some increasing volume over the on the 1 minute over the previous minutes. And if I do that, and instead of calling this MYL, I'm going to say stock like MYL. And there are other things I could have done. I could have added some options filtering and things like that. But just trying to keep it simple, it's really the use of the history, adding the appropriate filters as columns, give you the ability to really reverse engineer and become the detective of what those filter values are. So let's go ahead and hit OK. And let's go ahead and run a, did I take off MYL? Maybe I didn't. Let's go back into configure. Symbol list. Now I have to look for all the symbols and then hit OK. So now it'll be interesting. Let's go ahead and run a history, and let's do that today. And I have no idea what's going to really appear here. I haven't done this. But I'm going to go to a little bit more of the meat of the market. This is the end of the market right here. Let's go earlier in the day. And you can see some of the plays that occurred here. So let's pull up WebMD. And let's look at it, maybe a 5-minute chart of this guy. And so you can see what happened today with this stock. Well, this is a pretty good move. 46. Really had a lot of juice behind that one. ATHM. You know, we're finding these characteristics of these new highs with these really strong volume action behind it. How about NOAA? You know, you look at something like this, and you know, this daily green bar is huge and wide, but boy, there was tremendous opportunity through the day to enter into a position like that. And I can be assured, look, I don't even really need the chart. I know that, I mean, there could be exceptions here, but I know that for the most part, the symbols that are coming through this particular window that I created are going to have these types of characteristics that are going to have very similar footprints and patterns to MYL and those other stocks that we identified early on. So let me just kind of finish it with this, folks. We have all these channels, and this happens to be very similar to what we put together when we created the surge channel. In the surge channel, if I was to, well, there's some really great windows in this one, and it's kind of sophisticated the way that we did it. It's after the market, so it's a little bit less than interesting, but during the market, this particular window right here, the strongest of the highs, it does something really unique, because what it's doing is it's sorting on this count column. And the count column is really counting how many times that stock has made an individual new high for the day. And you can really start to see, let me run a history, and let's do a history not from the end of the day. Well, all right, let's just do a history from the end of the day. It's really just going to show you the killer winners that we had today. But if I was to run a history at, say, like 10 a.m., you know, I can see how this would have looked, and the symbols that would have appeared at that time, very, very similar to this right here. You know, so if you click on these, we already know what they look like, but this is the type of, you can see that MYL had 611 new highs at this point in time here during the day. And so these are pretty significant numbers, and these also drive that continued momentum, you know, when you start to see these numbers really high. So this is a window that's doing a real-time sort of this column right here. It's an alert window, but it's giving you a ranked list that's ranking it based upon the count. So it's a little bit different, but it really does bring some very interesting symbols to the top of your mind here for analysis. And this window here is a multi-strategy, but super simple. It's just looking for two different moves, new highs that are happening on real significant types of volume. So good volume and even higher volume. And then this window down here, the explosive daily range, is really finding these stocks that have put in an incredible wide range bar on the daily basis. And we've got this sort, if we sort here on today's range, this is where, you know, these guys are really going to show you that, you know, they stand out above the rest. And, you know, they happen in real time. So as this stock here starts to approach 1.5 times its normal range, it's going to appear in this window here when the volume criteria accompanies it. So we have that, some of those characteristics that I was describing with really super high 1 minute and 5 minute volume. Those are incorporated in this high volume movers window up at the top. And you would have had an opportunity, had you been watching this channel during the day, to see some of those stocks that were, well, that are on the agenda here for today. MYL, YY, these stocks right here, they would have been coming through this particular window, giving you that opportunity. So if you're that type of trader, the breakout trader looking for continued momentum, it's a very good way to approach it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop this the presentation back up that gives you the discount codes in case you missed it. And now I'm going to take some questions, and I'll look through if Dan or Scott wasn't able to address any of your questions or something slipped by, I'll see if I can find something and talk about that. So let me bring back this.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please type them into the questions panel for us.
So, Ashraf, the question is this based on tick data or 1 minute data? And I have to say it's really a combination of both. The new high alerts, those are all based off of tick data. When you're looking at some of the filters look for a completed candle, and in such they would look for a 1 minute basis, or if it's a completed 5 minute candle, it would be 5 minute. But many of them are also real-time tick based. For instance, the range of a stock over the last 2 minutes, that's always changing. That's always adjusting based upon the tick. So it's a combination of the two, and it all depends upon which filters you use. So if you want to, here's a question from Michael. If you want to put a count alert, well, the count isn't alert. You want to put, it's a filter, and you want to add that as a column. And so in order to do that, let me find a window that doesn't. Let me just go to a social media channel here, and I'll take this window right here. Well, you have to do it in an alert window, and that's the other caveat, because it has to be associated to a particular alert. So in this case, I'm going to take the social tail of the tape, and I'm going to go into my config. I'm going to type search, and now I'm going to type count, and I'm going to make sure it's a filter, and I'm just going to go ahead and add it as a column, not as a filter. So let me just add it as a column. Social tail of the tape. Now, let me run a quick history on this, and you're going to see something here. Depending upon the alert, the count is going to be different. So in this particular case, it's looking at the 60-minute high with a count of 3. Here's a count for this pullback alert. This is a count of 3. So the count is referencing the particular alert and how many times that alert would have triggered. Here's SIMO, had a new high today. This particular one was its 76th new high. Hope that answered your question, Michael. So Jim, linking with TradeStation. The latest release of TradeStation honestly has been hit or miss. Some people have been able to get it linking. Some people have not been able to get it linking. And we actually have a support call with TradeStation right now trying to get that resolved and to figure out what they did in their latest release to cause that to break. But a couple caveats. There are a couple things that you may want to try. A trick is if you right-click on the Trade Ideas icon when launching it, if you select Run as Administrator, sometimes that's had some amazing effect on the ability to link not only with TradeStation but also with Thinkorswim. So give that a shot, and check back with me. I'm hoping that by the end of next week we'll have that resolved. And Barry, the count for opening range is not available because we're only triggering that one a single time. So Carl, you're saying Barry makes reference to a 15-minute opening range break scanner. That must be his scanner setup or strategy that he has. Please ask him if he's willing to share it. I don't know. Some strategies he does share, some he does not. So here's a question from Lloyd, and he's saying that my windows are showing something slightly different. I don't really know how to answer that, Lloyd, without being on your computer and seeing what's going on. I did make some changes to it, and you should also know that when you initially load up a multi-strategy window, it's going to go through all of the strategies that you have and deliver the last event for each strategy. So you can see that upon initially loading a window, they're not going to necessarily be in synchronous order here. So this populated based upon all the pre-configured strategies I had, and then after they do that initial population, all new alerts and events will be done in a synchronous order. All right, guys, questions are starting to slow down. We got a few more minutes, though, so if you have anything that I wasn't able to get to. Yeah, Paul, let me pull that up. Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember the specifics of the configuration, but let me drill into my custom filters and see what we got going on. So I'm just logging in. I went to the support page, and I'm going to go to custom formulas. And this is the one right here. I think it's U14. Well, I lost that window, but pretty sure it's that one. So it's volume 1/5 ratio. So if I was to edit it, all we're really doing is we're looking at the last volume, 1 minute volume candle. And that's a current one, the current one being built. And we're comparing it to the last 5 minute volume candle times 5. Yeah. I usually think of it like this in parentheses, but so that's the way we're looking at it, and we're creating a ratio out of that. But again, we give you these metrics, we give you these candles, and you can create any type of ratio or formula that you want to mathematically compute and compare the different variables that we have. And so, you know, if you were to go to the help page here that we have, you're going to have access to all the different variables. So again, all the filters that we have are variables, but we also created a whole new, you know, group of options, ideas that you can use here. For instance, the SMAs and the volumes, and we also reference some previous data points, not only today's high and low, but say the previous day's high and low, and some historical data like the 52-week high and low. And so all of these data points are available for you to manipulate, not only by themselves, but also along with some of the real-time data like price and, you know, the other variables that we have available. The one other link that you should be aware of is right here in the pre-existing formulas. If you go to this filter code link, it takes you to all the filters that we have and their respective code that we use inside of the formula editor. If you guys have any questions with that, I can certainly help you outside of this particular webinar. But it's the formula editor. It's really cool. If you know what you want to accomplish with some of the data points, it's really unlimited to what you can do. So you can see a quick, let me do this. Let me take you just quickly to all the filters that I have in my one account. I had to have a couple different accounts just to accommodate all the different custom filters that I put together. But over time, you really do amass quite a kind of historical archive of all the different ways that you can manipulate the data. Thank you for the compliment, Steve. There is no cost for the training that's included. You know, we want to make sure that when you use this tool, you really understand what you can do with it. We put the channel bar together so you can get some instant value out of it, but for someone that really understands what they're looking for and want to accomplish, you can roll your sleeves up and pretty much do anything with this thing. Jamie does also train. He's been out of pocket for a bit, but yeah, he's one of the several guys that can help you. So Jim, when you say you can't access this list, are you logged in? Are you talking about the custom formulas? You can't access this list because it's mine, but if you were to log in with your account, you should have your own custom filters there. All right, guys. Anything else? Well, I appreciate you taking the time. We're going to do this every week, guys. We also have another webinar today at 5 o'clock for those of you that just can't get enough. But every week we do this, and we try to keep it kind of broken up, a little bit of some features and demo, and really trying to answer some questions that some people may have. But none of this really does take the place for the personal one-on-one training session that you get. I mean, we do a great job of connecting remotely to your computer, setting you up exactly the way that you want to be set up, making sure that you understand not only how to configure it, but just how to really manipulate the tool and get the most out of it. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that. No, Paul. This is the 5 o'clock webinar is a little bit different. It's more of an overview of our trade of the week technology, and I think far more people that are attending that particular webinar are not subscribers. This one here, we kind of roll our sleeves up a little bit more and dig in, but yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, 5 Pacific time, yeah, 8 o'clock Eastern. So the tab view graph, that's part of Realtek. So if you go to just go to realtek.com and you can subscribe. They're one of the tools that we link very well with. I like Realtek's charting quite a bit. So Michael, you have a question with any generic search for optimal filter combos and algos. I don't know if there's a generic search. We have a service called Execution Consulting where you can identify several symbols that made the type of move that you're looking for, the type of volume requirements, and we go ahead and punch that into our AI computer, and we have our computer come up with the right filter combinations, alert and filter combinations to find the types of setups that are optimally positive in the market, that have been back-tested and have statistics behind them. So Brian, the chart on the right doesn't come with trade ideas. This is a third-party charting tool, but we're very, very close in development right now. We've got our own charting right here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me log in here. Well, maybe it's being fickle right now, but yeah, we're working on our own charting, and that should be available, I want to say, in about 2 months. So we're really pretty close to releasing that, but we link with about 90% of the charts that are out there and the brokerage applications that allow you to place your trades. We also symbol link with most of those. When charting is made available, it will not be a separate cost. It'll be included with your Trade Ideas subscription. So Carl, the wiggle on the odds maker, the wiggle is a combination of 2 filters. It's the relative volume, see if I can remember, the relative volume times the volatility of the stock. And you know, that's to say that your basic stop, if you use the wiggle in your stop, it's going to be a little bit bigger if the stock is trading more volume for the day. So if it's trading 2 times normal volume, we would anticipate a wiggle stop to be a little bit bigger than a normal stop. So that's how you would utilize that. So Paul, the Stocks Like This is a nice tool. It's on the web page, and it is free for everybody to use. I prefer using the application because it allows me to really drill into the 1 minute time frame, you know, even to the second time frame. Whereas if I'm using the web page version of it, I believe it's 5-minute intervals that you have access to the filter values, and oftentimes that's fine. But I think that if people know how to use their software, it's just a little bit better because they can then find the symbols that are making that setup just a little bit easier. But you're right. You know, you could have done a pretty close job to finding that, but you wouldn't have had a lot of different values between, you know, between when the start of that 5-minute occurred and when the end of it occurred. You really wouldn't be able to get that granular. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time, and we will see you later tonight and again next week, or if you call us sooner. So have a very good one. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.